I'm just having a ball in the fall.
Hello everyone, I'm Kim Stricker and welcome to another Hook and Look Splash. A splash of fishing information from an underwater point of view. Most tournament anglers who have ever competed on Lake Champlain have likely made a cast or two at this expansive structure located at the north end at Rouse's Point. Like giant matchsticks, hundreds of vertical pillars stand in a state of total disrepair, yet now serve as cover for largemouth and smallmouth bass. Danny and I made this trip in early October, and we were greeted by a stiff westerly wind that made it somewhat difficult to manage my boat position. But once I turned around and faced the wind, I began to settle down and ultimately learned that I needed to present my jig very slowly to get bit. I mean painstakingly slow, allowing the jig time to perform naturally like a crayfish raising its claws in defense.
There he is. Come on up. Get out of there, baby. Get up. Get off that. Come on. There he is. Come on. Nice fish. Nice one. Big one. Oh, man. Look at the size of this one. Oh, that's a good one. Come on over here, darling. Come to Papa. Oh, that's what you can catch on these pilings in the fall. Look at those pigs. I'm just having a ball in the fall.
Underwater, Danny and I learned a great deal about this complex array of pilings. First and foremost was that there was a noticeable current present. Duh. Here we are at the north end of the lake where it drains northward, funneling into the Richelieu River. Of course there'd be some current present, and the bass were facing into it. I'll be perfectly honest, when I began fishing, I never considered that there was a flow and probably should have been presenting my jig from the other side of the trestle, pitching up current, retrieving the jig naturally with the current. But on the other hand, perhaps the jig would have moved too fast downstream. Regardless, I was getting bit, and we'll let it go at that.
Get out of there. Get out of there. Get out of there. Ah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. There's a chunky 3-pounder.
No doubt, this abandoned bridge holds some quality fish, but they're not everywhere along its expanse. So let's dive in and we'll see if we can dissect the sweet spots.
Good season. Serious Flake factor. All right, I'm in. Come on down. The water's fine. I don't know about fine. This is pretty cold. Put on your big girl panties.
It's been over 5 years now that Danny hasn't traveled the road with me. Not only do I miss his talent and hard work, but it's the father-son camaraderie we shared that now makes experiences like this somewhat incomplete. I wonder if the news station he works for now ever tells him to put on his big girl panties.
Wow, Dad, right behind you. This looks awesome. Great structure. Let's try to be as stealth as we can.
One of the most significant things we confirmed underwater here was that not all the pilings were holding fish. But why? We did run across a straggler or two, but nothing with great significance as of yet. Then ultimately, we came upon the perfect example of what we refer to as a sweet spot, the proverbial spot on the spot.
I don't know what dot marker this is, but this is the sweet spot. There's more bass right here than any other spot. There's tons of largemouth.
And although we never caught any, we discovered that there were also smallmouth mixed in with the largemouths, and some good ones too. As I mentioned earlier, there was some current present, And in addition to a good bit of shade and cover, these pilings offer a current break to these fish as well. Depth was a contributing factor here, but I believe that the amount of current, together with how these particular pilings were creating the preferable degree of slack water, were playing the most significant role, and dictating where and how these fish were comfortably positioned. Another interesting observation worth mentioning was that not all the bass were holding on the bottom. Many were suspended in the timber at mid-depth, yet when they felt threatened by our presence, they would descend to the floor, which was right where I was catching them.
When I got a fish over here, get off that stuff. Come on through. This is the one thing about fishing in these pilings.
These pilings are no place for monofilament line. If I'd been using mono, I would have likely broken off that fish.
There we go.
There's no question that fighting fish through this wood is an abrasive scenario. From the surface, it looks bad enough, but from below, we noticed that many of the pilings also had sharp zebra mussels colonizing up the base. I recommend using Seagar fluorocarbon. After all, it was Seagar scientists who invented fluorocarbon. Seagar Abrasex was specifically designed for conditions just like this, offering unparalleled abrasion resistance, and it's nearly invisible underwater, so fish won't see it. The jig I was using is Strike King's Tour Grade football head jig. The wide football-shaped head gives you better feel and helps the bait stand up on the bottom for a lifelike look and action. As with all my videos, you can find a complete list of the products featured below the video description, along with links for purchase if you so desire. So check that out, and thank you for your interest in Hook and Look.